Listen and focus. Indonesian folklore. The story of a clever sweeper. And Morit, East Kalimantan, Indonesia. Once upon a time, in the area of East Kalimantan, there was a river that empties into the Kahayan River. The mouth of the river is called the mouth of the Sion River. At the mouth of the river there was a village that was prosperous, peaceful, and peaceful. Its inhabitants always live in harmony and help each other. In the midst of the peace, suddenly they were attacked by robbers with full weaponry. They ravaged the entire village. Residents' houses were destroyed. Stairs and pillars scattered everywhere. Seeing the ferocity of the robbers, the villagers did not remain silent. The men, both young and old, tried to put up a fight. The fierce battle was inevitable. As a result, they were able to drive away the robbers, even though many residents had to become victims. After the enemy left, they immediately buried the dead residents and cleaned up the scattered pieces of the house. At night, all residents gathered at the Balai Besar, a special house for meetings, to find a way out so that their village would be protected from robber attacks. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if I may suggest, how about we just leave this village? We are looking for another place to build a new village so we can live safely and peacefully. We will not be able to last long in this village. They will definitely come back to attack us in large numbers. While our numbers are decreasing, Nyapu suggested starting the conversation. However, none of the residents supported his proposal except for his wife. The residents preferred to stay in the village. They agreed to hold a ceremony so that the spirits would protect their village from robbers. They also agreed to work together to build a strong fortification and prepare complete weapons. Day and night, the men went round the village to keep watch in shifts, while the women were busy preparing food. One night, while preparing dinner, the women saw several juking boats coming from downstream towards their village. Knowing that the jukums contained robbers, they panicked and ran screaming, "Robber! Robber! The robbers are coming!" Hearing the screams, the men who were on guard immediately woke up. The other residents who were resting to confront the robbers. Fierce fighting ensued again. The battle between the two sides lasted for a long time. However, again the battle was won by the people. The battle again left pain for some residents. Many mothers were crying hysterically because their husbands were killed in the battle. Seeing the condition of the village that was badly damaged and the many residents who were victims, Nyapu again asked all the villagers to leave the village. However, the residents still refused Nyapu's invitation. Finally, Nyapu and his wife decided to leave the village. Okay. If no one intends to leave this village, please allow me and my wife to go. We will go upstream and open fields there," said Nayapu. The next day, Nayapu and his wife said goodbye to all the residents. When they were about to leave, the ropes, or hammers widows, totaling 40 people, said they wanted to go with them. After preparing sufficient provisions, the group departed by using a boat down the Kahayan River. After days of going against the current, they arrived at the mouth of the Miri River. They then followed the Miri River upstream until they found the mouth of the Napoi River. Then they turned along the Napoi River upstream. Finally, they arrived at a river they had never been to. They also named the river Bola River. The river water is very clear. The scenery around it is very beautiful, and the weather is very cool. Trees thrive on the banks of the river. Wow, this place is so beautiful. The land is fertile and many small rivers flow here. If we live here, of course we won't be short of water, said Nayapu's wife. You are right, my wife. We should open new settlements around this river, said Nayapu. Finally, Nayapu and his entourage decided to stay in that area. Immediately build a house. Within a week, they succeeded in establishing a settlement. Nayapu was appointed head of the village. They named the village Nayapu Village. After that, Nayapu and his people opened the fields. They planted the fields with rice plants. They were very diligent in caring for their crops, so that when the harvest season arrived, their rice barns were full of rice. Nayapu and its people lived happily. Nayapu's happiness increased when his wife gave birth to a beautiful daughter. The baby they named Morit. Nayapu and his wife have cared for and educated Morit with great affection. Since Morit was 5 years old, Nayapu often took her to the fields to introduce her to the natural life around her. It's not surprising that Morit grew up to be a smart child and had a loving disposition towards others. Morit was also very happy living in the village because all the residents loved her. Meanwhile, in another place, villagers at the mouth of the Sion River were again attacked by robbers because they were no longer able to survive in the village. They finally flocked to Nayapu village. They built houses and opened fields like other residents. Over time, camping Nayapu was getting busier. Over time, Morit grew into a beautiful girl. Her beauty amazed every young man who saw her, and they hoped to marry her. Morit was a smart girl. She did not want to be careless in choosing a mate. She wanted to get a husband who could bring prosperity and peace to all residents of Camping Nayapu. For this reason, she made a condition for every young man who came to propose to her to fill the largest barn in Nayapu village with fruit seeds within 1 day. The seeds will be planted in the residence fields after the wedding ceremony. Many village youths have come to propose to her, but none of them have been able to fulfill the conditions. Morit realized that the conditions she put forward were quite heavy. However, she felt sure that one day there would be a young man who could fulfill it. It turned out that her belief was correct. A few days later, a handsome young man from another village named Kereng came to propose to her. Besides being handsome, Kereng also has high supernatural powers. Armed with his supernatural powers, he agreed to the conditions put forward by Morit. However, Morit did not want to accept the proposal before the conditions were realized by the coral. Sorry, mister. I will accept your new proposal if you have filled the largest rice barn in this village with fruit seeds, said Morit. Okay, if that's what the princess wants, allow me to excuse myself to immediately fulfill Putri's requirements, said Kereng. After saying goodbye, the coral left for the forest. With his supernatural powers, he managed to collect lots of fruit seeds to fill the largest rice barn in Nyapu village. Because the conditions were met, Morit accepted Kereng's proposal. A few days later, their wedding party was held with great fanfare. Various art and dance performances were shown. Invitations in attendance came from all over. During the party, Morit's father Nyapu asked all the invitees for help to plant all the fruit seeds that Kereng had collected. After the party, all the invitees who attended worked together to plant the fruit seeds in the Nyapu fields and in the fields belonging to other Nyapu village residents. Within half a day, all the fruit seeds were successfully planted. How happy Morit was that her wish could come true. She also lived happily with her husband. Several years later, Morit's happiness only grew. Apart from being blessed with 2 sons and daughters who are handsome and beautiful, also because all the fruit seeds planted in the fields have been bearing fruit, the results could be enjoyed by all citizens down to their children and grandchildren.